Everybody, welcome back to Exploring Temecula and Murrieta. Today I wanted to do an update on the difference between living in Temecula or Riverside. These are two major cities within the Inland Empire, and I just wanted to go through both of these cities, the pros and cons, and help you make the decision on whether or not these areas or which area is going to be best for you. If you do not live in Southern California, this is a great video. I've lived in both Riverside and Temecula for many years, so I do have knowledge, not only just selling real estate, but I've actually lived in these two cities. Okay, so the first thing I wanted to talk about was a little bit about the population and the density of each city. Riverside has around 80 square miles and their population is around 330,000 people. Temecula is around 30 square miles and the population, anywhere between 115 and 130. Temecula is growing greatly. A lot of people are moving here because of the expense of living in San Diego County or Orange County. The inland area of Southern California, even though it's still expensive when you compare it to many other parts of the United States, is very, very affordable to those two other counties that I just talked about. In Riverside, the heavily, densely populated area of Riverside is going to be along the 91 freeway. Homes are going to be older, a lot of them, built in anywhere from the 1920s all the way up to, generally speaking, the 1970s. In Temecula, it is a newer city. Most of the homes that you are going to look at are going to be built in between 1985 and 2010. When it comes to Temecula, the heavily, densely populated areas are east of the 15 freeway, but you do have areas in Temecula like Wine Country and Duluth that are still going to be it's going to feel almost rural to you when you're there. There are downsides to them, as well as many upsides, and I'm just going to go into that later on in the video. Okay, so next up, safety and the community vibe. First, we'll start off with Riverside. There are going to be 3 or 4 areas in Riverside that I would feel comfortable showing you and say, hey, you're going to have pretty good schools, you're going to have a safe neighborhood. Those are Canyon Crest, parts of Canyon Crest, Orange Crest, parts of Woodcrest, La Sierra, Alessandro Heights. But there are going to be areas in Riverside that you do not want to live. So be very careful if you are looking for homes in Riverside and you do not know the area. Make sure you figure that out. A lot of times just driving down the streets or through the neighborhoods, you can get a pretty good feel of it, but be very, very careful with that. When it comes to Temecula, the best thing why people are moving to Temecula and Murrieta and this area is you're not going to drive through communities or neighborhoods that you do not want to live. I could show you every single community in Temecula and you are not going to think, ooh, I would never live here. So that is one of the biggest differences, not only between Riverside and Temecula, but also from Temecula throughout the whole Southern California area. You're going to go to a lot of cities in Orange County, for instance, that, yes, part of the city is nice, but then you're going to have parts of the city that are not nice at all. So, again, a big benefit to Temecula. When it comes to the community and the community vibe, let's not even talk about the wineries yet, but Temecula is very unique in the fact that it has a lot of HOA communities. Why is this beneficial to many people? Well, number one, you don't have to worry about the area or the neighborhood going downhill. There are rules and regulations that every one of your neighbors has to abide by, and it just keeps the neighborhood up. Number two, HOAs are very plentiful, and this is something that's very unique, I think, to Temecula. There's probably maybe 15 HOA communities. The monthly fee is going to be anywhere from, on average, $90 to $125, but you get so much for that money. You get the pool, you get clubhouses sometimes, you get tennis courts, basketball courts, green spaces, walking paths. So the vibe in Temecula is great. Even not talking about the rest or the things, like the restaurant area or wine country of Temecula, just within each individual one of these communities, you've got a great vibe and a lot to do as a family. Okay, so traffic, it's just a nightmare pretty much anywhere you live in Southern California now. The 91 freeway, where it meets the 15 freeway, that's going to be probably one of the more heavily congested areas anywhere within 50 miles. In Temecula, because we're going through construction now on the 15 freeway going north onto the 215, that is awful, especially in the afternoons during the week. Even on weekends, you're going to see backups sometimes all the way to Fallbrook, depending on when you're coming north on the 15 freeway. Hopefully that gets fixed within the next 6 months to a year when all the construction is over. But I would say, overall, the traffic is going to be worse in and around Riverside than Temecula, but Temecula is not easy either. So it's like pick your poison. Okay, so cost of housing, I would say it's going to be less in Riverside. Why? Because you're able to find that there are going to be a lot more of those 1,400 square foot homes that were built in the 50s that you could probably get for $600 to $650. In Temecula, it's just going to be harder. There are those homes. For instance, one of the golf course communities, they have a lot of 1,200 to 1,400 square foot homes that you're going to be able to get for around $700. But if I was to tell you what the average home price is and compare it to both cities, you're definitely going to be on the higher end in Temecula, probably by $100,000, maybe $75,000. So that could be a determining factor in regards to where you want to live. Okay, so schools and education. Although Riverside does have school districts that are pretty good, this is one of those things when you're buying a home, you need to check the zip code if you have kids and figure out what school they're going to actually go to. There's some awful rated schools in Riverside, and it's very, very important that you do that. On the flip side, with Temecula, why are people moving here? One of the biggest reasons, and I get this all the time from people calling me, I want to see this home. Why did you, after we talking, why did you decide on Temecula? Because of the school districts. Both Temecula and Murrieta have great school districts, and it's one of the things that we are known for in this area. Okay, so let's talk about lifestyle and entertainment. There is a lot to do in Riverside because it's bigger, because it's older. It's probably more historic in way of, if you like that type of thing, going downtown to the Mission Inn, there are many restaurants. The historic side of Riverside is going to be a lot more than Temecula. There's just not the history there. A lot of people do like the idea of Riverside because they like the craftsman's homes that were built in the 1920s. Wood Streets comes to mind. But when we talk about the lifestyle in Riverside, going down to the historical area with the Mission Inn, if you want to hang out on a Friday, Saturday night, being there 12, 1 o'clock, where would I feel ultimately safer at night going out late at night? If that's something that you're into, definitely Temecula. When it comes to Temecula, you have the wine country, which is absolutely beautiful. I always tell people, even if you don't drink wine, it's a really nice day. Go have a picnic. It's very calming. It's very serene. So wine country in Temecula is a very, very beautiful area. We also have Old Town Temecula. And it's basically, I would say maybe about a mile stretch where it feels like an old Western town. And you've got boutique shopping. You've got a lot of restaurants. It is a very, very nice venue to hang out during the day. You have farmers markets on Saturday, and one of the things that you will notice Friday, Saturday nights, past 8 o'clock, past 9 o'clock, even though there are things that have happened in the past, the area is crawling with cops. So just from the safety aspect, you feel pretty safe down in Old Town Temecula, even later at night. Do not drink and drive. You will get caught. There are cops everywhere. If you're into hiking, both areas do have areas or nature, maybe is what I should call it. I would say Temecula has more of it, but there are definitely hiking trails in Riverside as well, like Mount Rubidoux, which is a nice hike. But if you are into hiking and going out on the weekends and going for walks, definitely Temecula is going to be the winner in my opinion on that. Okay, so next up, jobs in the economy. I don't know if one is better than the other, but it is important for you to just because you might like Temecula more, if your job is closer to Riverside, you're probably going to have to suck it up and just live in Riverside, or vice versa. If you like Riverside more, but your job is in San Diego, obviously you're not going to be able to live in Riverside because your quality of life, because you being in your car for hours and hours a day, is not going to make you want to be around here. So my suggestion to you is find your job, figure out where you're working, and then when you know where your job is, then buy your home. I can't stress that enough, because the traffic and your quality of life is going to go downhill very, very quickly and it's going to drive you absolutely nuts being in your car that long every single day. Overall, if I was to choose a city to live in, there's no question Temecula, not only in the Inland Empire, but throughout Southern California, Temecula and Murrieta, this area, this pocket of these two cities, are probably two of the best cities that you're going to be able to live in throughout Southern California when you take into affordability, safety, quality of life, schools, when you take everything into consideration, this is where you want to move. So if you have any further questions about Riverside or Temecula, please reach out. Greenleaf Real Estate and Appraisal, we are licensed as appraisers and a brokerage here in Temecula. And thank you very much. And until next time.